think everybody has been realizing that the price of gasoline has been going up higher and higher at the pump. And I don't know where the heck it is and what the price is in every part of the country, but I guess on average it's maybe $4 a gallon. There's cheaper alternatives out there. I know I mentioned the hemp. The hemp, just grow hemp, and we'll have hempoline, and there'll be way more gasoline than we can ever use, and we wouldn't even have to import any fuel from or crude oil for fuel or anything like that from the Middle East, because we'd have to be able to grow our own. Better than the ethanol from corn, hemp, right? But there's another alternative out there called natural gas. Now, Boone Pickens is pushing this. I kind of like to pull Boone Pickens. I don't think the natural gas is absolutely the best solution, but let me put it this way. It's like you don't have to get to the absolute best solution in one big giant step. You take a bunch of steps. This natural gas is a great solution or partial solution for right now. We got gazillion tons of this stuff. I mean, there's plenty of it around. It's cheap enough, and they're finding ways to get it out of the ground cheaper and cheaper. Now, this technology has been around forever, and decades and decades and decades, going back to the 30s. And I quite obviously, the oil companies, there's some kind of racket going on because they stop this stuff. Like, I live in Florida. There's two places that are in Florida you can get this stuff. I have one of those cars that's dual fuel. I never filled it up with natural gas yet because the place to do it is all the way up in the Panhandle, and there's another place like 400 miles south that's all the way down by Fort Lauderdale. It just opened up after years of getting through all the legal loopholes, and you got to go through a bunch of garbage. That's the one station. So I'd run out of gas before I even got there to fill up. So forget about it. But natural gas is everywhere there is. I mean, it's all in homes everywhere. It wouldn't be nothing. The infrastructure is already there. It's not like hydrogen, like you're dealing with a fuel nobody uses. Natural gas is all over the place in homes. Now, if I had natural gas in my home, I'd get the device that would be able to compress it, and I would fill up my own car for $1 a gallon, which would be nice, but I don't really care. It's not that important to me, but I just want to point out that there's a major solution out there for the high price of gasoline. Now, natural gas, when you have it in a car, actually it runs so clean the car lasts longer, the oil changes last longer, the spark plugs stay cleaner. It's not too good for, like, you can use it, it's very good for like steady use, long use vehicles, but it's not too good for police vehicles because they jump on the car and they race it a lot. So a regular gasoline is usually a better application for police vehicles because it has a little more of a lubricating property in it, even though it's dirtier. So, but I guess there could be additives added to the natural gas still to make up for that difference. But as far as for buses, garbage trucks, public transportation, this stuff is the best stuff around. It's really, really good. And it's probably not bad for police vehicles, too. I mean, really, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that from some people, so I had to put that out there. I have not read that anywhere. I have heard that, so I'm not 110% sure about that, but that may be a factor. But I do know the fuel's so clean that under normal circumstances, the cars last much, much, much longer, and they require less problems with tune-ups and all this kind of garbage and oil changes and all this other stuff. So they start using a lot in, various municipalities that require vehicles to be driven around, public transportation and stuff. Boone Pickens is a big advocate of natural gas. I think that's a very, very smart idea. And I think a lot of people heard that Honda Motor Corporation has cars out the last couple of years that use natural gas. But actually Chevrolet has had them for many years. They stopped offering one in 2003. I picked up one of those 2003 Chevy Cavaliers with 22,000 original miles on it a couple years ago that has dual fuel, compressed natural gas, and gasoline. It uses both, but I've never been able to fill it up with natural gas yet because it's not available anywhere. And that's like there's no reason for this not to be that way, but let's just call it a conspiracy. I don't care. You want to call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think the oil companies got a racket going, and they don't like this fuel being used in competition with their crude oil product. They don't. So I guess there's different companies involved with producing natural gas. So, it's a different deal. Even though it's in the energy sector, it's a different deal. Natural gas, this is right off of Boone Pickens' site. I think this guy's all right. He's one of our elite, whatever, but I think he's okay. Natural gas is an off-the-shelf technology for cars and trucks, according to NGV, which is Natural Gas Vehicle America. There are more than 10 million natural gas vehicles in operation around the world, but only about 130,000 in the United States. And you know where they mainly are? Utah, Oklahoma, a couple big places for them. Mainly out west, not too much, on the East Coast, not too much. It seems to be mainly in the Midwest and the West. I don't know what the deal is. It doesn't make sense because natural gas is available everywhere for houses. Why can't it be available for cars? It's ridiculous. But if people have natural gas in their house, they can take the initiative and do this. They have to buy a special device that costs some thousands of dollars. And the car takes overnight to fill up when you use the home device. If you're using a filling station out in the public roads, it fills up just like a gas station, fast. It compresses the gas real fast up to 32 psi, 3200 psi. Now they're also talking about the disadvantages of batteries. They will not power heavy trucks, and hydrogen fuel cells will be decades away. That's possible. I don't know. Maybe not. But right now, natural gas has been available. The technology is available, and the infrastructure is basically practically all the way there. Now, as far as batteries will not power heavy trucks, there's a way around that. I just want to comment. Capacitors is a way around that for like the short burst of energy they need to start off, and then once they're rolling, they roll off of batteries. But I like this natural gas. It's a good stopgap measure, and it can be utilized right away. So Boone Pickens wants to really convert the over-the-road trucker fleet. So in other words, they frequently run the same routes, stop in the same places on a regular basis. So it'll be very easy to set up the infrastructure where they can fill up. It could be all on the interstates. Just like diesel fuel is not super easy to get everywhere there is, well, you can have every truck stop pretty much has diesel fuel. All it does definitely has diesel fuel. So you can add the natural gas, to the truck stops too. So the truck stops, now they would be running a lot cleaner, a lot less, it'll be a lot cheaper. Transportation would, be cheaper, which is figured into the cost of all goods sold in the United States are transported some way or another. And even the manufacturer, where say there's a rare fact, there is actually some manufacturing going on in the United States, but all the products are shipped to the factory, materials and stuff like that in some way. So if they're shipped by 18-wheeler, they could be shipped cheaper. All those costs go into different products. So transportation, fuel for transportation, if you reduce that cost, you reduce the cost of many products across, that are being produced in the United States. And he also talks about, besides over-the-road trucks, there's also transit companies like the buses in Los Angeles, and they converted 2,800 to natural gas vehicle buses. They also have the garbage trucks, which always sit around idling a lot, stopping and going. They use the diesel, and you see all the black smoke coming out. And you have a nice, super clean natural gas vehicle instead. It runs very, very cheaply, very, very cleanly. And the cost is very, very minimal. So they also have a lot less maintenance costs with everything. Now, this is like something talking about the pros and cons of buying a CNG powered car. Now, this was from Honda, and this was like, I think like in the American mindset, they got some pretty good advertising out there from Honda. But actually, Honda, General Motors and Chevrolet actually had these cars out for quite some time, and I wish people would have bought them in droves because They weren't that much more money. They're about $1,400 more to buy a dual fuel vehicle that runs on compressed natural gas and regular gasoline. That was the sticker price was $1,400 more approximately back in 2003. Not a major sticker shock. You know, you'd be thinking $5,000-$10,000 more. No, and it still ran on gasoline. You'd fill it up with compressed natural gas. It runs out of natural gas. You know, let's say it runs out of that tank, it automatically converts to the 14-gallon standard gasoline tank. They already had it figured out years ago, and they were making these cars back in the 90s, and the technology goes back to the 30s. Now, if you don't have a gas station available, one thing you could do is you could buy the Fill Home CNG, which is compressed natural gas, fuel station. Now, when you get gasoline, or natural gas, I should say gasoline, compressed natural gas at a filling station, say in Utah or Oklahoma, like a public filling station, it fills up to the compressed tank very quickly. It goes up to the 3,200 psi or thereabouts very quickly, and that gives you like a full tank. It goes by pounds per square inch, and they'll have like a gallons equivalent cost. And actually, when you're getting it filled up in a public station, it might be like $2 something or whatever. It's still a hell of a lot cheaper than $4. And when you fill it up at home, though, it runs you like $1.09 a gallon equivalent. So it's very cheap. But this thing is not that cheap to buy. I think it's $5,000. You have to have it installed. So you actually have to do a lot of driving, and this will take overnight to fill up. But that's not a big deal. You pull the car in the garage, you turn this thing on, and it fills up, you know. And then the next morning you got a nice full tank of compressed natural gas, and you can drive all over the place. Now, in the case of the Chevrolet I have, it has a 6-gallon equivalent for compressed natural gas, approximately 30 miles a gallon. You have a 180-mile range, and then it goes into the gasoline, 14 gallons, 30 miles per gallon. So that's a 420-mile range after that. So now I just want to point out, here's the car. It actually did exist. This is from fueleconomy.gov. Here's the Chevrolet. And, you know, they show that it gets a very slight decrease in gas mileage. Now, the reason that is when it uses compressed natural gas, you're talking 1 mile per gallon difference, right? So highway it's 30 for regular gas, 29 highway for compressed natural gas. But when if you have an exclusive use compressed natural gas vehicle, what happens is the vehicle actually will be more efficient, and it gets better mileage. The reason this gets a little less mileage with compressed natural gas is because it's a dual-use vehicle. The engine is tuned to use both. So you have to make some compromises. But if this was exclusively compressed natural gas, this wouldn't be 29 miles per gallon highway versus 30. It would be higher, probably 31, 32. It actually gets quite a bit better mileage. So in effect, in reality, compressed natural gas does get better mileage than regular gasoline. But when you have a dual fuel car, it has to be not optimally tuned for compressed natural gas, so it does slightly worse on gas mileage. But it's very minimal difference. But look at the difference. Now back, you know, way back when in 2003, you're talking. Well, you know, probably the cost of fuel was a lot different, but still, today, I mean, if you're talking $4 a gallon or whatever it is, and you're talking compressed natural gas, $2.30 a gallon, it's a big difference. Now, if you're filling this up from your house, it might be just over $1 a gallon. So they're talking like for a year, you know, almost $2,500 annual fuel cost. For regular gas, $1,400 for compressed natural gas for the same amount. But if you're filling this up from home, it would probably be about $650 or $600 fuel cost. So you would have to figure you'd probably be saving at least a couple $1,000s a year on fuel cost, and that's if you're doing some average driving, not that much. So even though that fill station, that fill, which PHILL home fuel station that you can fill up at home might cost some thousands of dollars, you would actually recover that in a couple of years almost. You'd almost recover that in a couple of years. Now, if you're somebody that drives 50,000 miles a year or something, this is probably something that should be looked at. I think this would be very smart to do, especially if you have the natural gas in your home anyway. This can be added in the garage, and any car can be converted over to natural gas very easily, and you could still leave the same type of, like, I know, like, they sold this Chevrolet where it was really easy. You just fill it up with natural gas, and then when it runs out of natural gas, it just goes right to the regular gas tank. It's like you didn't have to do a damn thing. But they have conversion kits that are pretty simple to do, and you might have to manually switch something over with a switch and then restart the vehicle, and it'll go into regular gasoline. But you would not have to have it where it's exclusively on compressed natural gas. Any car can do this. Any car. So I'm bringing this out now because I know gasoline, I think, is around $4 a gallon. I think it's going to be a way to hell a lot higher. Like, in Germany, sometimes I think it's like $8 a gallon. I think we're going to get up in that range sometime. I don't think it's going to be in the next couple months unless there's a conflict in Iran or something. But the writing's on the wall. The stuff is going up more and more and more. And, it's almost like, some people wouldn't want to do this conversion right now. And I can't do this conversion anyway because I don't have natural gas in my home. So it's like I got to find a gas station. There isn't any around here. But if you do, I would be looking into this right now because say you got it now and, at current prices, it takes a few years to recover the price to justify this unless you're driving 50,000 miles a year. But that's at current prices. I don't know where gasoline is going to go in cost, but it seems like it's going to go up, 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 up. And probably maybe not that distant future. Maybe it's going to be 6 months from now even. It might be $6, $7 a gallon. And, if you already bought this, you already start having your savings coming into play already. So just want to put this out there to make sure people are informed that there's other alternatives out there for this gas crisis we're probably going to be coming up with expensive fuel. It's tolerable right now at 4, but I think people who drive a lot, when it starts getting up to like 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10, it's going to be intolerable. And there is a solution right now. And I think this is, if people got the bucks to do this, I think if you drive a lot, you should be doing it right now. Because, maybe right now it looks like it takes 3 years to recover the cost. But my extrapolation, my guesstimate says that gasoline is going to be probably twice as high as it is next year than it is now. And if you've got this right now, you're saving money. I wish I can get it. I don't have natural gas in my home. But if you do, I want to recommend that you take a look at this little setup here. I think it's very, very smart. Hopefully Boone Pickens makes a lot of natural gas stations available throughout the country. I would love that. But he obviously is up against some kind of brick wall with the oil companies. And quite obviously, there is a conspiracy racket going on with these oil companies. There is. That's not a hocus pocus theory. They got a racket and they're protecting it. That's what it looks like, pretty much hands down.